coconut, we like to have at least a pound or several pounds, like 2 pounds, because we don't want to think about buying it all the time, right? It's just like too much thinking.
Right.
The other great part about it is that I don't do this, but some people utilize Amazon has, and there's other online stores that has a way that you can subscribe to it. So if you know you're going to run out of that thing in 3 months, it will automatically ship you one. And for me, we're definitely going through almond and coconut flour in like 2 months, and it's a good thing for us. But I don't use it because I got to order other things, so I place orders, fairly often. But anyway, that seems to be the best deal. The brand that they have is it's the one that Costco sells. Kirkland. It's Kirkland, and I like their almond flour and their coconut flour because it's very fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very fine flour. The more fine it is, the more it is like regular wheat flour, and it acts like wheat flour in recipes mostly.
Right, and in fact, if you have a Costco in your area,
you could get it there.
You can get it there.
Exactly. I think Costco's everywhere, but I think they're in Africa. But anyway, so that one thing is really for the people that either are baking or want to learn to bake. If you don't do it often, you could get a smaller package, but we just find that it's more expensive in the smaller package. So it's up to you how much you use. Butter, olive oil, coconut oil, you have to have fat, right? Obviously, it's keto.
Right. The fat is important.
We do not recommend any kind of oil that's hydrogenated or anything. I know they're very cheap. They're not good for you. They don't work as well from a keto perspective. You're better off with real
olive oil,
like pure fat. I know they're more expensive, but I'm finding that the coconut oil is actually cheaper than the olive oil in some places. It depends on how much they can get in their area. Butter is a great thing because butter can be used in almost any recipe, and we find that very often it's on sale. Like you can get butter on sale more often than you can get olive oil or coconut oil.
Yeah.
But I do recommend that you check out dollar stores.
But we're talking real butter.
Right, real butter, not the margarine. Olive oil.
Do you suggest the unsalted?
We use salted. We use salted.
Oh.
And the reason is that salt is an electrolyte, right? And so for us, we're very active. We drink a lot of water. We need the salt. We need the salt because we noticed that we were not salting our food, or because, in past diet lives, they tell you not to do that. But in this life, salt is our friend.
Right.
We actually feel better having the salt.
The same when we buy nuts. We buy nuts that are salted.
Which we never used to do.
We never used to do that.
But then we were also contending with high blood pressure, which we don't have anymore. So you kind of have to see. But the salt is really good. It should not bother you because, again, you're on an anti-inflammatory program. So it should not make you feel bloaty or whatever. So we use salted, and it tastes better, too. Mm-hmm. So butter often is on sale. In a regular grocery store, you will see it more often on sale than any of the others. However, in a dollar store, you can almost never get butter, but you can always get olive oil, and you can always get coconut oil, and for some reason, it's very cheap there. Yeah. They're smaller containers,
smaller sizes,
but sometimes they're like $1. And so when you add it up and you look at a bigger container in the regular store, it's actually cheaper. So you're going to have to use your math skills. Back in 8th grade, we were like, what are we going to use this for? This is what we're using it for. MCT oil, that is mid-chain triglyceride oil that's made from the coconuts. And we use it every morning in our coffee because we use it for our bullet coffee. You do not have to use it. A lot of people, athletes especially, don't use MCT oil. They use butter in their coffee. That's why it's called butter coffee. And it does exactly the same thing. So if you already have butter at home and you want to use that, that's fine. But either way, we do recommend, if you are a coffee drinker and you're not going to eat breakfast, we do recommend butter coffee or MCT oil.
And I know putting butter in coffee sounds a little strange.
It does, but it's delicious.
Right.
It's weird. It's definitely weird. We've done it in restaurants or at hotels, and people look at you like, what are you doing? But honestly, it's delicious and it really charges you up. Like you just get this burst of energy. It's fabulous. So one of those things. Also on the idea of coffee and also as an ingredient to some recipes, we always need to have some sort of milk product that is not milk. Milk is too much carb and it's just not good for us. So we use either half and half, works fine. It's only 1 gram per serving. Whipping cream is 0 carbs. It is the most delicious thing in the world. It's fabulous, and it is 0
That's what
carbs.
I use.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? Oh my God, I had it in my coffee this morning. It's dessert. So yeah. And then, so you need one of those things, or there's other things like in Canada and other parts of the world, there's these intermediate products. So you see something that's called table cream,
Right.
right? And half actually comes in different grades of fat
Different
content.
percentages.
It doesn't matter. Any of them will work. So half and half, table cream, whipping cream, any of those things. Just not milk because you can use it, but you're sacrificing more carbs. So it's
Right.
kind of not worth it.
I don't understand why they would add sugar to milk in the first place. That just blows my mind.
I don't
No.
know. Someone said because children drink more milk and they want parents to buy more milk because children will ask for milk or drink milk with cereal and stuff.
And they think
So
that.
let's pump them with sugar. Yeah,
I
that
know.
Right,
helps.
right. So
Right.
if they think if they add some sugar, it's going to be more appealing.
We market to children. We
Right.
market a lot of things to children, and they are not the best decision makers in this matter. So we think if you ask any pediatrician or dentist about how much sugar a child should have, they're going to say 0. So
Right.
yeah, don't add sugar to stuff.
Right.
Anyway, the sources of protein that you need. So that has a lot to do with what your decisions are on your food plan, but you always need something. So you either need meat. Almost everybody also has eggs in their house because there's so many meals that people eat. And unless you're vegan, where you're not eating eggs either. But if you're vegetarian, any other form, you eat eggs. So eggs are a basic.
Of course, unless you have some allergy.
Yeah, some don't eat.
Some don't.
But as a protein, so if you buy very discounted meat or fish because you have a real deal that you get, that's great. But normally, ounce per ounce, the cheapest form of protein is eggs. That's the cheapest. If you just boil it down, you're going to realize that that's the cheapest way to go. Also, and it has a certain vitamin E in it that you can't find almost anywhere else. It's in eggs. So something to think about. Fish can be very inexpensive. If you buy fresh frozen fish, if you buy fish that was fresh, it was quick frozen, and it's in the frozen section. If you look at that same fish in the fish section of a grocery store, side by side, it's like double the price. So if you're trying to get fish and you don't want to pay for the fresh fish, the frozen fish, as long as it's, just read the package, fresh frozen, not, some of them are actually frozen again. So it will say, source frozen something or else. Like it's double frozen. It's
right.
Twice. If you could do fresh frozen, it's better. If it's local frozen, it's even better. So I look for the ones that they're Canadian. Right? For me, it's local. To me, it's Canada. Other places, it's California. If it's sourced locally and it's frozen, it's just like fresh fish. It just have to be defrosted. So that's good. Actually, any source of fish, I don't even care if it's tuna fish. Fish is a really good thing. It's a really good option.
Source of protein.
Yeah, and then cheeses. Cheeses are a great source, and nuts are a great source. Now, with cheese and nuts, if you eat a piece of roast beef, there's usually 0 carbs unless you've added sauces and other things to it that make it sweet. But cheese and nuts you gotta look at because depending on which ones, they do have some carbs or they have 0 or very little.
And I think the soft cheeses generally have more. Is that
no?
correct?
See, that's the weird thing.
That's wrong.
So that's what I thought too.
That's
so
what I
blue
thought.
cheese, for example, you don't like blue cheese, but blue cheese has like 0, right? Some of the fresh, like mozzarellas and camembert and brie, and those are 0. Some Swiss cheeses have 0, some have 1. Cream cheese could be like usually 1 per serving, right? Cottage cheese has more. We all love cottage cheese because when we were dieting, we all ate cottage cheese. But look at the package. Hard cheese has less carbs than cottage cheese. So you really got to get to know, for you, what's your go-to dairy that you really like. Usually, general rule, the harder the cheese, the less carbs. So like Old Cheddar, there is a beautiful, I like Save On Foods. They have a house brand of Old Cheddar, and it's delicious and salty, and it's delicious, and it's only 1 carb, and it's fabulous. I've bought other cheddars that were 2, 3. So you got to take a look at what you want. I love things like in the dairy session, there's like tzatziki sauce, and there's other things that are like dipping things. They're mostly based on sour cream. Sour cream is 0, right? If you get those and it's only 1 per serving, those are really nice to have around because you can add them to things. You can put them on salad. You can mix them into like deviled eggs. Those are really nice to have. Be careful with hummus. People love hummus, but it's got chickpeas in it, and chickpeas have
a lot of
a
carbs.
certain carb count. It depends on the makeup.
It depends.
So hummus that has other things in it that are not totally pure chickpeas actually may work for you, but things that are totally chickpeas, if you look, you're going to notice they have more. So
people ask about yogurt. I just thought of that one.
Yeah. So Phil is a yogurt aficionado. There are ones, I believe the lowest one is 5, right?
There's yogurts that have no added sugar.
Right. But the actual carbs based on the milk is like 5.
Yes,
Yeah.
4 or 5 is probably as low.
So if
as
you
I've
love
seen.
yogurt, that's cool. Just make sure you read the package. Very important. The
But
more
some-
stuff they add to it, though, if they're adding strawberries, blueberries, and so on, they often add like syrup with it because it's not fresh fruit, and then it adds
And
more
some
syrup.
yogurts are 20, 30 carbs or more.
Yeah,
So you have to really look
really
carefully.
look. That's an important one.
I've resigned to no yogurt. I mean, the Greek yogurts are nice, but
Great
they're bitter,
yogurt, yeah.
and I don't like the bitterness. And I've tried putting in fruit and stuff like that, and I still just can't get past the bitterness.
All right, we have a thing that we're experimenting with. So I used to, when I was a kid, a young woman, real hippie, I used to make my own yogurt. I got a yogurt maker and I made my own yogurt. I have a theory that I can make fresh yogurt from whipping cream. I believe I can make it from whipping cream, and it's going to be so close to 0 because it's not made with milk. All the yogurts are made with milk. Every single one of them is made with milk, and that's why it's got more carbs. I believe that with some adjustment, we can make it with whipping cream. I'll let you know how it turns out. If it does, we've got a yogurt. So I will let you know. Because I like making pops. The reason is I like to make fudgesicles and like frozen pops for fun. And some of them use yogurt, and then that makes them higher in carbs. So I want to make the close to 0 yogurt so I can make a pop. You know what I mean? So we're getting there.
And some recipes use yogurt.
Yeah, they do. And it ups their scale. So, okay. So that's a lot of like things. The other one that's close to milk that I just want to mention is ice cream. So we have looked at the Rebel. We have looked at all the keto things.
Friendly.
They are delicious. A lot of them are really delicious, but the carb count is a lot to me. Like I don't want to use that up in my daily plan.
And
right?
normally the package, the portion is small.
And they're very expensive.
And it's very expensive.
So the reason that the food plan has an Italian gelato on it is because we realized that we could make not ice cream. It's actually much richer than ice cream. That's why it's gelato. It's made with whipping cream, not with just milk and other things. It's extremely low carb, extremely, like a couple of carbs a serving. And it is like heaven in your mouth because the mouthfeel is so high because it's whipped cream. That's the base of it. So if you really have a hankering for ice cream and you don't want to spend that much and you don't want to use up all your carbs on your dessert, try the Italian gelato. I think you really like it. It's based on the same idea of some recipes are like fluff. You'll see online, they make like chocolate fluff. They make chocolate, coconut fluff. And it's kind of the same idea because they're making whipped cream and they're adding stuff to it. Our trick, though, the problem with freezing those is that they get too hard. And you're like
That's
trying
exactly
to...
what I was going to say. I did make one, and it was so hard you couldn't even eat it.
I know.
And
So
then
here's the
it
trick.
liquefies. So
Yeah, so
then
here's the...
bring it out.
Yeah, so we realize what is the ingredient. You guys may not realize this. The ingredient that's added to ice cream is this, it's like seaweed. It's a gum that they add to it to make it soft.
That's the xanthan?
No,
No.
it's a seaweed gum.
Oh,
it's a seaweed gum. But anyway, we don't have that. It's not readily available and so on. So I did some research. You know, what it makes it hard is ice crystals, right? Ice crystals are what make it hard. So since you're an adult, you have to be careful about this with children. But as an adult, if you want to make an ice cream that stays soft, you add alcohol to it. You add rum. You add gin. You add vodka. You add any distilled liquor that you like. That's what stops the ice crystals from forming fully. They still form. It's still frozen.
But it's not as hard.
Softer, right? And so it's actually I think it's the right texture, but also you can take it, because it's got the alcohol in it, you can take it and set it out. Some people are reporting back that they set it out for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and they just let it come down a little bit closer to room temperature. It's still frozen, but it's softer. Or some people take it right out of the freezer. It depends on how much alcohol you want to put in it. And you can experiment. Depending on the flavor, it takes a little less if you're using a flavor that uses more fat. So if I'm making chocolate gelato, I'm melting baking chocolate into it, and so it's got more fat in it. It has more fat content. I can put less alcohol in it, and it's softer. But if I'm making vanilla, so it's just whipping cream with sugar and vanilla and that, I have to put a little more alcohol in it because I don't have the fat. See, I don't have the extra fat. It is so much fun to eat gelato. It's just really fun, you know? And so there are recipes online. We did not include them in the food plan yet for a cone. You can make a keto cone that's almost zero. It's because it's got a lot of fiber in it. Almost zero carbs. And you basically are baking this thing and creating a cone out of it. And then you can put the ice cream in it. So next food plan will have ice cream cones in it.
Right.
But we don't have that yet.
Not yet.
It's happening. It's happening. Anyway, so we digress. Salt, pepper, spices, lemons, and limes. You don't have to have all of those all of the time, but they're really useful. So salt, pepper, and spices just make things taste better. That's all. They make your food more fun. Lemons and limes, a lot of people use, or lemon juice, like in a bottle, or lime juice in a bottle. Perfect, because it's electrolytes, right?
And some people add it to their water.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Right.
Fresh lemons and limes.
That's right.
Yes, and it's really healthy for you. If you go to a big expensive spa, the first thing that they serve you every morning is lemon and water. That's like their key thing, is to get you cleaning up, cleansing your stomach, making you feel energized. It's that's why they do that, like the golden door. So you're just doing that at home for yourself. Green leafy vegetables. This is something some people have to adjust to. They don't really like salads. And they say things like, I'm not a rabbit. I don't eat that. They're learning, though. What we're realizing is that it's not salad per se. It's certain things that they associate with salad. Like, I don't like iceberg lettuce. Well, then don't eat that. You know, eat something that you like better. Here we have romaine, iceberg. We use spinach as salad, kale as salad, sliced up cabbage for salad.
And we realize some people like raw spinach. They don't like because of the taste.
But they like cooked spinach.
Right.
So that's fine. So, and then there's lots of things that are not, arugula. Arugula is a fabulous.
It's bitter, though.
It's bitter if you don't like that. So there's some things that are not intended to be salad that are totally delicious and quite economical. So for example, I love radishes, but I always hate the fact that the radish you use up and the greens you throw away, right? Because I don't like to waste food. So I looked it up, and actually, maybe not so much in North America, but in around the world, people use the radish as part of other food. So I tried it. They said, try it chopped up and mixed with other salad. It tastes like arugula. It actually does. It's bitter. It's very nutritious. It's got almost zero carbs, and it actually adds this other flavor and texture to your salad. So it's really delicious. But other people chop it up and cook it with spinach. So they make it like a cooked green, and it's full of iron. The reason also not to waste it, but it's full of iron. Any bitter green, arugula, any of those kind of things, broccoli rabe, anything that's a little bitter, the reason it's bitter is because of iron. And iron is really important to us. You need to understand though, you could eat a mountain of spinach and get none of the iron. The thing that unlocks it so that you can absorb it is citric acid. So that means make sure that you are intaking some lemon juice or vinegar or something citricy, something acidy
And you put
with
that
it.
on the
Right? Either drinking it with it or putting it on it with it, because then that becomes fully absorbable.
activated.
So if it has, 100 grams of iron, you're getting all of it. Okay, so you want to make sure that you do that nutritionally. And then berries. So berries are probably one of the most expensive fruits. It's not like an apple that's in season, it's really, really cheap. But we eat them and we are extremely economical.
Right.
So when they are a good price, when they are in season, which where we are, it seems like berries we can get a lot of the time, maybe because they're hothouse, I don't know. But anyway, when they're in season, you can buy them fresh and be super happy. When they're in season and you're buying them fresh and you can buy extra, if you can afford to buy a little extra, freeze them. Fresh frozen, fresh berries, put in a Ziploc bag in your freezer are fabulous. And you might be buying them more cheaply than
Right.
buying them frozen.
Now, people often ask questions about other fruit. Is that compatible with keto?
Yeah, in small amounts.
In small amounts,
Sure.
people, apples, bananas, they actually have much more sugar than berries do.
Yeah, we have a bag of pears from a tree near our house. And the bag of pears is probably going to last us a year because every so often we defrost one pear and we use it to make like a pie or a bread or something because we just want to have a little something with a pear in it. And we love it and it's delicious. We don't eat whole pears, but we definitely eat other fruit. Apples the same way. We just kind of minimize bananas, the amount of it, but we still don't want to not eat it at all. Obviously, berries are the best choice because they don't have the ability to raise your glycemic level very high. That's a good thing for us. We want fresh. We love fresh. Sometimes we can't get that. So we always keep a bag of
Frozen.
the cheapest possible frozen berries.
Strawberries.
Because the quality is really not much different. You can buy the most expensive frozen ones and you can buy the cheapest ones. And when you defrost them and put them next to each other, they're really not very different, honestly. And so, but we always make sure we have them because as a source of antioxidants, they are primo, right? The number one healthiest food that you can eat is a blueberry.
Blueberry.
Right? Blueberries are amazingly healthy things. They have antioxidants. They've got flavonoids. They support healing. You can't beat it. Raspberries are right up there. Strawberries are right up there. Blackberries are right up there. You got to be careful about anything else that looks like a berry, but it's not a berry. So like cherries, no. Cherries are really high and they don't have all those valuables in them.
People love, for example, I love raisins.
Oh, yeah.
No.
They're just real. Well, you have had raisin bread
I've had
with raisins in them, but it's just a handful. It's
Just
a
a
really
handful.
small amount. Yeah. So anyway, that's what berries are about. Oh, the jelly. So we found, I didn't put it on the list, but we found a no sugar added wonderful jam. Have you seen those? They're fabulous.
Oh, jam, no.
Yeah.
Yes, no sugar.
Yeah, let me write it on the list and I'll give you an example of one that we found. Oh my God, it's fabulous. I think it's a couple of carbs per serving. We, of course, are making fresh breads, right? And muffins and scones and all those kinds of things. But it is a no sugar added
So you're just getting
jam.
the sugar from the fruit itself.
And this is not a special product. This is on the shelf at like Save-Ons and places like that. So it's not a special thing. It's not that expensive, but it's specific. The trick is that the fruit in it is the same berries that we eat fresh. So if they had added other things into it, we wouldn't want it. But it's blueberries, raspberries, and strawberries, I think.
Oh, they have lots of
It's just
flavors.
the ones that we eat, yeah. So you pick that one.
They also have
right.
mixed fruit.
Yeah. And it's very low. Now, Jessica has used it in recipes because there's some recipes that are low sugar, low carb that use that, and that's really delicious. Some cakes use one layer, they use a sugar-free jam in the center of it, so you would have it for that. But the best is if you have new, fresh, hot bread. It is so good because you put your butter and you put your jam and you're like in heaven. So that's fabulous. So look into that. We'll send you the exact name. I forgot the name of the company, but I'll tell you that. And there's probably others. This is just the one that we found.
We're familiar
so it's
with.
not off limits. I didn't write peanut butter because specifically peanut butter is a source of protein for our world. It's a source of protein and also other nut butters. But you have to be careful because some brands are like 5, 6 more because they add sugar to them, right? And they're not just pure protein, pure peanut butter. And then some of the more natural ones are really low because all they are nuts, and they add like safflower oil or some other oil, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the textures, some people don't like, because you're used to like Jiffy, it's like all mixed in, it's consistent.
It's soft.
The more natural ones, you'll see that there's like an oil layer and then there's a solid layer and you have to mix it.
Yeah.
Some people don't like that. It is very easy to make your own peanut butter. Really simple. If you have a Cuisinart, you can throw it in the Cuisinart and you just add enough butter. Some people add butter. Some people add oil to get the consistency that you want. And you can add salt, or if it's salted butter, you don't even have to do that. You can make your own very cheaply if you find cheap peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to think about. Again, hippie girl, I used to make all my own nut butters because God forbid I should buy them. Right? So anyway, I know, it's crazy. But that's a source of protein. If it's right and the carbs are low, some people really just want, they want their keto bread with a peanut butter sandwich like that. They just feel like having something really that looks normal, like standard.
Right.
And they can also, bring it to work with them and that kind of stuff.
And the carb count is very low.
The reason I mentioned peanut butter is that one of our favorite fat bombs is the peanut butter cups.
Right.
Right. So you need to have peanut butter to create that. You need baking, chocolate, sweetener, and peanut butter. It's really simple.
Really, those are the only ingredients.
We have never met a person, not a single person, who likes peanut butter cups that doesn't prefer the keto ones. And the reason is that they're usually made, I know Reese's puts out a dark chocolate version, but they're usually made with milk chocolate, which is super sweet and kind of like cheap stuff. We make them with baker's chocolate, which is completely dark. It's 100% cocoa, right?
Cacao.
So it's super dark. And people just really love that.
Make sure to get the not semi-sweet,
Unsweetened. There's another point to that too. When you were getting to the baker's chocolate, Lily's chips, which we find are cheaper online than in this grocery store, but we'll get to that in just a second. Baking powder and baking soda, buy a container of those two things. They're super cheap and they will last forever because you're using like a teaspoon, a tablespoon. They last forever and they don't add any carbs, which is good. Baker's chocolate, that's the 100% unsweetened type. That's what we use as an ingredient, and it's not that expensive. You get a whole box. It's broken up into blocks, and like 4 little squares is 1 ounce. And a lot of recipes call for like an ounce. There's 4 big bars, and so you'll find that it lasts quite a while. It lasts quite a bit.
Right.
So definitely baker's chocolate.
So and keep in mind though, this is unsweetened. It's not the milk chocolate in the candy bar.
No.
So it's a little bitter.
Yeah, the sweetener offsets that. And also on that note, again, only if you are baking, you might like to have some extracts. Let me explain. So you know how you add vanilla to something to add a flavor to a cake. If you go where vanilla is, they have all sorts of different extracts. They have almond, rum, coconut, orange, lemon, cinnamon. Like every time we go, there's another one. There's a million of them. Banana. The banana is fabulous. If you just want, like if you make a cupcake or you make a muffin that you really like you like the texture of it and so on, but you're getting tired of it, you've made it too many times, you can add just like a capful or a teaspoon of any of those extracts and it's a whole different thing. It makes a whole different flavor. It's really enjoyable. And experimenting with those. They're little bottles. Sometimes in the stores, they're kind of expensive. Again, I have found them at the dollar store for $1, right? Which is fantastic. Or you can buy them online and they're cheaper too. So that's another thought, is the extract. So then peanut butter, the keto sweeteners, we talked about the ones that we really love, the ones that behave the best in most of the recipes. We love Swerve. Swerve is a really good example. And the reason we like Swerve, you can buy it online, cheapest of all, at Amazon for us, is that it comes in the different textures. So when you're making a frosting,